Hey everybody, happy Friday. Thank you so much for joining us for DFW ATW's Connect Friday. I'm Christy Bonner, Vice President of our organization, and I have our lovely and always happy Aries Webb-Williams, our Programs Director, going to be our co-host, and she will introduce our guest speaker that we're thrilled to have, Ashely, today. A couple of housekeeping notes for you. You will all be on mute, but we do have chat capability and we have opportunities for questions at the end. So as you listen to the show, please check out the chat capability, put in your questions there and chat or question, then we'll answer those at the end. I want to take a minute to thank our partners and sponsors without whom we could not do all that we do to help achieve our mission. So helping to encourage and increase the number of women in leadership and the number of strengthen the pipeline of girls in our STEM initiatives. So with that, I'm going to hand it over to Ashely and she will get us kicked off. Thank you.
All right, so thank you, Christy. I'm super excited about today. I'm going to go ahead and first introduce Ashley Gaare. She is responsible for the strategic direction and operations for SoftwareONE's North America region, which includes Canada and the United States. Before taking on the title of North America President, she was brought up through the SoftwareONE business in a number of roles, including leading inside sales to launching a sales career in the field, where she won the U.S. first Fortune 10 company. And after a successful run in sales, she realized her passion was within leadership and took on the Detroit and Milwaukee markets, Milwaukee being the longest standing and one of the most profitable P&Ls in the country. She oversaw the sales strategy, the sellers, as well as the financials of the market. From there, was promoted to U.S. Vice President of Sales and Marketing and responsible for a $98 million budget overseeing 12 sales leaders and their respective teams. She's contributed directly to the double-digit year-over-year growth in the United States, led strategic organization changes, and realigned direction to the teams to drive accelerated yet sustainable growth towards the future of SoftwareONE. Her most recent promotion was to President and General Manager of North America, where she partners directly with Global to lead the strategic vision of the North America region. Her priority is to enable and empower SoftwareONE's people to provide not only their customers the best experience working with SoftwareONE, but to accomplish this through a strong foundation of core values. Ashley has been with SoftwareONE for 12 years, lives in Mequon, Wisconsin, with her 2 young children and husband. Thank you for joining us today, Ashley.
Thank you. What an intro.
Super excited. Well, you deserved it. You earned all of this, right? So
yeah, I'm excited to be here. Thank you.
Yes, I do want to kick us off first by sharing that I joined the SoftwareONE family in January this year, and my first day of work was the first day of our national sales kickoff. So 300 people, I got to meet everybody in one whop, right? Mm-hmm. So the company culture to me, you know, is unmatched. And I've worked for Fortune 10 companies. I was particularly taken aback by the fact that pretty much every single person I met was so friendly. I know we all sales, but still, it could still have not gone that way. And that includes our CEO, Dieter Schlosser, and Ashley as well. So I was like, they can't fake this with 300 people. Like, you can't fake this feeling, you know? So it is a real thing. And I do want to use kind of the SoftwareONE core values to guide our conversation today. Mm-hmm. So for everyone in the audience, our 7 core values, which are humble, customer focused, employee satisfaction, passionate, speed, and integrity, and discipline. So to kick us off, I'm going to start off with humble. And you basically grew up at SoftwareONE, right? So you're like the true starter from the bottom, you know, now you're here story. So can you tell us a little bit about your journey and like how you navigated through, you know, the ranks and your influences, mentors, sponsors, things like that?
Yeah. Yes. Hello, everybody. Again, it's so nice to be here. It's very honored to be asked to be able to participate in something like this. I am a true believer in empowering women in all areas to try to take what they want to achieve, no matter the environment of the company they're in or the situation on the home front. So for me, my story started in inside sales, fresh out of school, and I'm a natural achiever. So I was very competitive all my life. I played sports and just grew up with the mentality that you never settle, right? And when if somebody would have told me I got a job in technology or software, I would have been like, yeah, you're crazy. It's not interesting to me at all. I had a background in marketing from school, and that's really what I wanted to do. And when I came to SoftwareONE, I remember one of my mentors at the time was like, are you sure you want to do marketing? And I was like, yeah. And he's like, the money's in sales, right? I was like, okay, that makes sense. But I knew in order for me to be really good at marketing, I needed to be able to create something that is sellable, right? And so I took the journey to sales first. And I never left because I did make better money in sales, let's be honest. I think for me, the biggest things that stick out about my career within SoftwareONE is I am a learner, and I'm always trying to get better. Whatever my task is that day, whatever my long-term objectives are for the year, I never just settle with being okay. I wanted to be the best at anything that was given to me at the task. So I knew I had to be really, really good to learn the business. And then from there, I knew leadership was something that was naturally a gift of mine. And so I wanted to use the opportunity to understand the business from all angles in order for me to be a better leader. And I think one of the lessons in that is for you to be respected from multiple people in multiple departments, to just say that you've been in their shoes or you've walked their walk before, you've dealt with the pain that they've had to endure, the challenges that come their way, and naturally builds just relationships with people that are much easier to establish than historically. And then I would say the last thing was I probably used every single opportunity that I was ever given to make a positive impression or influence somebody higher than me so that they remembered my name. And that was it. It was really quite simple. It was either a customer needed to remember who I was, or my boss's boss needed to remember who I was. And so I just really made sure to kind of separate myself from the pack to show that I really wanted to be, I was loyal and engaged and committed to the long term of a career at SoftwareONE. And that stands out for people in leadership, and they know that they see that in you, and then they'll bring you under your wing, and then they'll mentor you and help you grow.
I like that. I think it's super important to do that, right? Because it's kind of like that's your own personal value proposition.
Yep.
Right?
Yes, I was a big believer in a brand. Everybody has their own brand, whether it's SoftwareONE or it's Ashely. And to this day, people will associate me personally with certain things outside of the company. And then as you learn to make an impact within the company, you can bring those two together, right? And you can become a brand ambassador for yourself as well as the organization.
Yeah, I want to bounce around a little bit here as I ask this next question, because that kind of leads into passion, right? Passionate is another one of our core values. And we know that women leaders have different things to consider than their male counterparts. For example, travel, time constraints, childcare, things of that nature. I know you're passionate about that. And so what are your views as a woman in tech leader in a male-dominated industry, on work-life harmony and flexibility and things like that?
Yeah, that's it's a very tough topic. And it's one that I have personally, multiple layers and at multiple times, have had to deal with really hard conversations, both with my husband as well as with my boss and my boss's boss, as well as my team. And so for me, so for my personal situation is, my husband is also a president of a company. And so we both have very demanding jobs. His is very different than mine. I'm very flexible. And his is in manufacturing. So he goes and he is in the office, walking the floor, right? He has to be there. We're very fortunate to have help. And it was actually one of the biggest takeaways I actually had. I read the book Lean In by Sheryl Sandberg a long time ago, right when it first came out. And one of the things she talks about is like these young women who start into a career, think that they need to settle in case they have kids down the road, right? They're like, I don't want to put myself in a situation where I have to choose between children and work. So I'm just not going to do it. I'm going to take a step back in my career. I'll stay in a lower paying job because I know I'm going to be the one who's going to have the flexibility down the road. And in the book, she talks about, she took the opposite approach, and it was actually to lean in and be super aggressive early on in her career. And I took the same philosophy. So my husband and I both worked ridiculous hours to begin with. You earn your stripes when you first started at an organization, right? And so that's when I would go above and beyond. I put extra hours in. I just took all this extra time that I had and just threw it into my career. And now I loved my career, so that certainly helps. And I was able then to work towards a place of flexibility. So when I was ready to have kids, I had earned that. Like, I had earned the level of respect from my peers. I had earned the respect from my leadership team to say, Ashely is valuable to the organization. We have to keep her. We need to give her the flexibility that she needs, right? So that she can have a family and have a career. And so as that progresses over time, right, as you climb the quote unquote corporate ladder, your demands don't get any fewer, your schedule doesn't get any less. And so now it's really, really on me to have full ownership of setting a very disciplined schedule. So things like when I took this role, I said I can't travel more than 30%, period. And if you want me to, then I need to know what's coming in advance so that I can prioritize. So customers would always come first, internal leadership would come second, right? And so it was really pushing the environment of SoftwareONE to change so that they could be more proactive in saying, okay, you know, female leader or male leader or not, here's the schedule, work with it. These are your priorities. The rest is up to you. And it was simple things like that on how I could manage my schedule, just so I could make sure that I was there for my family and I wasn't gone all the time, because it was really, really hard as part of my decision to take the role.
Yeah, having help is the best thing ever. I would say, as a mom that also, you know, works a full-time job, you definitely need that help. And for me, you know, as a mom that doesn't have a partner, help is super important. And I think also being in an organization that helps their employees, that also gives us that much more confidence to do our jobs. So I want to kind of get into the other core value, which is employee satisfaction, right?
Mm-hmm.
And talk about like how SoftwareONE has viewed, you know, work-life harmony before the pandemic. You kind of got into that, and how it's changed since this coronavirus pandemic has happened. I know that we're at a place right now with 100% of our employees. So we have around a little over 5,500 people at SoftwareONE, and we have 100% of us working from home. So that's a lot. What are some of the things that, you know, how have you viewed the change and some of the ways that we've supported, you know, employees during this time?
Yeah. So COVID-19, it's kind of ironic, because at the beginning of this year, when our WITs, we had our own internal WIT group, as a sponsor of that, I was very stubborn and focused on making sure that everybody could be just as effective in their role, if not more, at home. And that was before COVID-19, because in the real world of it, if I'm asked, if SoftwareONE creates an environment where I have to travel everywhere to be good at my job, the amount of efficiency that's wasted on just traveling is a ton of costs, right? It takes away from your time at home. It takes away from just getting off all of the tasks that you have on your list. And so before COVID-19 happened, we were really driving, and I say we as myself and my core leadership team was really driving on how to be effective with all of our typical off-sites remote. So for example, can you do learning and development workshops together to build trust via webcam? You can. You just have to have an intention to do so, right? Now, there is definitely a difference being in person versus remote, and there is certain topics that are always handled better in person, right? But the fact of the matter is, SoftwareONE was historically not great at like allowing that freedom and flexibility. There was somewhat of a pressure to feel like you had to be everywhere and do everything all the time. which is great because people love doing it, right? And so you don't want to detract from the people who are passionate about it, but you also don't want to alienate those who weren't able to do that. And so they felt like they had to take a certain role or job for it. So before COVID-19, we were working towards that anyway. SoftwareONE has always been set up for remote workforce. We're a very heavy sales organization, so our sellers are naturally all over the place anyway. Our hubs, though, like our inside sales team, they love the culture of the office. We have global service delivery centers in India and Romania and Mexico City and Costa Rica, and all of those are on site, and because they're training and enabling each other, and they have to be together. So the fact that the first and foremost thing was the technology capability. We were set up already with technology to be able to just flip the switch. Our CIO did all the testing early on because as a global company, we knew it was coming because we saw it with China, right? China hit, then the APAC wave hit, then EMEA. So by the time it got to us, they were like well prepared for all of this. And so it was very, very easy. We didn't lose a single day of production at all. There was not any bumps in the road. It was just sending out an email saying now, non-essential travel is no longer allowed, or then no travel is no longer allowed, work from home. And then we just made sure our leadership team who weren't used to leading from home had a good playbook to support their ability to lead remote, right? Which can be tricky for those who are used to doing it.
Yeah, that I was gonna, that you led me into the one that I was gonna use for speed. And so we could just kind of, you already just brought that up, as with us having presence in over 90 countries, our CEO is in Singapore, right? So we already had stuff coming down the pipeline. I know I was supposed to travel to Chicago and New Orleans in March, and then, in February, we already had started saying, hold on, we're not, let's pause this travel right quick. This stuff is coming. So we already knew what was coming. So that, I think that's pretty amazing because we had a chance to make some better decisions here in North America. Anything else that you saw that you're getting insight from, that you feel like you can utilize in North America?
Yeah, so I think a big component of that is part of SoftwareONE's culture is high level of collaboration with each other. And specifically in North America, we score very, very high on our employee engagement survey in this area, but globally we do as well. So the ability for other leaders on the other side of the earth are able to provide best practices and guidance, right, in a way that allows for collaboration was really helpful in this because I knew what was coming. I knew what to expect. Our CEO was extremely transparent. These are the number of cases we've had. This is what you need to prepare for. These are our recommendations. Like Singapore is getting a phase 2, right, because they opened up travel. So all of those things we have insight and visibility to, and it also helped us guide our COVID-19 like portfolio, right, for our customers. Being global, we're able to give them insights and data points that are foreshadowing of what's to come in the US that they might not be able to get anywhere or have to pay, a consulting fee for it. So.
Yeah, so that leads me kind of into the next core value, which is customer focus, right? So in our audience right now, we have a variety of people from CIOs to directors, managers, individual contributors, right, in various industries, all who have been impacted in different ways by this. Some may have lost their jobs, some may have, had to squirm around and figure out how to get their own companies, on track. And so, what are some things that you've seen as far as trends in the market? Like how have we, SoftwareONE, been pivoting to address kind of the needs of the organizations we support, like areas that we've seen our customers needing us at this time? Because obviously we're an organization that helps customers with their digital transformation, right? So that is, our work is what people need right now. So have you seen anything as far as trends in the market or what customers are saying they need from us right now?
Yeah. So, well, I guess first and foremost, before COVID-19, with the economy booming as it was, right, in the US specifically for so long, customers had built a budget that allowed for a lot of innovation and non-essential creative work to be done, right? The whole digital transformation platform is based off of a company able to take something that they historically would do obsolete on paper, move it to a digital world, or take something already in a digital world and make it a profit line for a new business venture for their own customers, right? Taking existing resources and IP and going out and taking it to the market. Well, in order for you to be able to do that, there has to be a market to sell to, right? And so with the boom in the economy, you had customers essentially building these incredible new service lines that other customers needed. And it was considered very non-essential business. It wasn't like keeping the lights on or making sure people had email or making sure that their supply chain process was functioning in all areas, right? And so the big pivot that we've seen is just all of that non-essential work is just frozen. So everybody immediately pivots to cost management, right? And the US market specifically, which brings me a little bit full circle around, SoftwareONE is a Swiss-based company. We're not US, and I'll explain why that means in a minute. But in the United States, a lot of corporations will move forward with long-term investment plans, right? So they'll say, well, what we're going to do is we really want to grow this line, so we're going to invest heavily, and we expect a return in 2 or 3 years. It's a frequently used model, right? It's also another reason why companies go out public. Well, SoftwareONE operates under a very conservative model where our operating expenses are always maintained. And so to see customers essentially have to go back and revert to cost management as #1 priority, instead of pushing a portfolio that was catered to digital innovation and transformation of their product lines, it was all pivoted to, okay, how are you going to keep the business running as effectively as possible? What controls and governance do you have in place today to make sure your spend isn't sprawling? Are you able to move to the cloud at the rate that you need to keep your workers working from home for long periods of time? If you can do that, do you have the change management process in place to help your people adopt the technology they need now to do their job versus the luxury of choosing to use it, right? Because there was always an alternative. So the biggest trend for us is we've really taken our portfolio that's been there, it just hasn't been the forefront, and pivoted to helping companies save money during this time, manage their spend, but also still plan for the future from a technology roadmap as well as asset management and security.
Yeah, it kind of leads me again into, you've been like right on leading me into these questions. But the other core value we have is integrity, right? So obviously we care about revenue and sales, right? Any company that runs a business cares about revenue and sales. But it's been a touchy time for people in sales because you don't want to take advantage of people's vulnerabilities during this time. And some companies have more of an advantage right now, depending on what side of digital transformation they were on prior to this versus where they are now, playing catch up or, already there. And you lead a sales group, right? You lead a sales organization. So what are some ways you've seen people continue to build relationships, prioritizing those customer relationships, in this new normal? We're virtual now, so we can't go take people to lunch, and all that kind of stuff anymore. What are some things you've seen, in that?
Yeah. So the biggest thing, first and foremost, I would categorize this in 2 buckets, right? You have your existing customer base, and then you have your new customer, your growth, the new logos that you need to go and win as a seller. So your existing customer base, first and foremost, this time is going to test whether or not you have the trust built with them first, right? Because your customers should be coming to you as a seller immediately saying, this is what my problem is, and can you help me? And so that's the first question that I would give any seller. And the second would be that we're not selling anything that is not going to address a pain right now, because it's a waste of everybody's time. So it's been a real testament, or a test too, for that matter, for our sales organization. Historically, they could kind of ride the economy wave, where it didn't take, and I love our sales engine is amazing. So this is not a knock on them, but any seller out there who could say that they were riding an economic growth wave that was unprecedented during the time didn't take a whole lot of effort needed to sell something because it was a fairly simple process. The budget was usually there, right? They had flexibility, and when they did it, they could move things up if they needed to. They didn't have cash flow challenges, so they weren't coming to you asking for alternative solutions on the financing side. All of those things take into effect. Now, our sellers are being tested. They have to actually understand and listen to their customers' pain, what they're going through, and then articulate if we have something in our portfolio that addresses it. And the last thing any customer wants is for you to walk, take them down this road only to find out that we can't help them. It just completely burns the trust. So that's the difference between then and now is our sellers are really the ones that know how to listen to a customer, bring value back to what they need, are going to be the ones who are going to thrive in this environment.
Yeah, 100% agree. And we're getting close to time, but I see the little bike back there, and I have to bring this up because we did these like Zoom calls where people were doing workouts during the week, and you led a workout a couple weeks ago. And I heard you had everybody sweating. So I need to know how do you fit fitness into your schedule with all the things you have going on?
Yes, I just make it a point. I exercise for me is one of the ways I build resiliency. It's a stress reliever for me. I definitely believe in two forms of therapy. One is like exertion therapy, where you just, basically kill yourself for 30 minutes so you don't think about anything else. And then the other is to just sit and like relax and meditate, right? And for me, the exercise is one of the two options, and I just block off time. I either have to do it in the morning, have to do it at night, or I block off time in the day to do it. But I just make it an effort and intention to make sure that I can get my physical fitness in, because it's one thing that keeps me very happy.
Yeah, that's the hard part. I'm like, I try to walk at least once a day with the kids, so we can get outside. Yeah. I'm like, I'm ready to move up a couple levels, but we're not there quite yet.
Yeah, join my next workout.
I will definitely join your next workout. Someone did ask, what is the tip that has added most positively to your culture now that you're working remotely? Which I think a lot of the support that you all have given us. We have a mental health site now. We have something for parents. We have a whole, share point basically for parents with resources and things like that. And someone just asked a quick question I wanted to ask before we get off real quick. It says, I'm in a consulting role for managed IT. I've reached out to clients and potential clients to see what challenges have come up in their organization and how I can help, even if it means bringing in a partner or someone else in my network.
So it's not really a question. I posted something to our membership to say, what are you doing? If you're in a sales position? And I appreciate Ashley, your perspective on that is you're right. Most companies are in this cost cycle, and nobody wants to be sold anything unless it's really going to do some value. So I had asked our member, and Kimberly Martinez, one of our members, put some comments, and I'm seeing a couple of those come in. So appreciate your insight there.
Yeah.
Well, thank you, Ashley, for this conversation.
Aries, on the culture thing, just to wrap up, I think the biggest thing for anybody who's on this, who's in a leadership role and has people under them, the biggest thing that you can do right now is keep your people feeling safe. They just want to know that they're in an organization that's going to take care of them and that's going to do everything in their power not to have to do RIFs or furloughs right now. And so it's this trust that you build with your people. Your people need to feel like they're protected and they're a priority. And if they feel that way, they will go and keep doing their job to their greatest level of intent and not be stressed out behind the scenes saying, what's going to happen. So, yeah.
Right. Yeah, well, thank you again, Ashley, for taking time out of your busy schedule to hang out with us for a little bit. I obviously, like I said, I joined SoftwareONE months ago, and look, she's already doing interviews and stuff for us. So I'm like super appreciative of that. But thank you for that for sure.
Yeah, thank you guys.
So we have a couple of quick announcements. A reminder, so we are getting back to our first monthly program in May. As you know, we skipped our April program. It was supposed to be Innotech, which has been rescheduled for August. Our May program will be virtual, as we assumed that we would still all be working from home. So Paula Sabine is going to be leading us on a business continuity management. So that's going to be virtual. So I know that we all are missing our networking time, so we're going to do an hour-long meeting followed by 1 hour of networking, and we'll have some breakout rooms that you can join for the topic of your choice. Also, next Friday, we have another great Connect Friday coming. Michael Quinby, who's a VP within Salesforce, will be talking about their COVID response to being resilient. So join us for that. The registration will be open. It's already open, but you'll see that on our social media posts soon. So thanks again for joining us, everybody. Thank you, Ashley, and we will hope to see you all next Friday. Bye.
All right, thank you.